If you've recently suffered a knee injury and you're looking for a way to speed up the healing, then today's video is going to have the answers you need. My name is Harlow and I'm the Over-50s specialist physio here at HT Physio in Farnham. And today I'm going to be giving you my 9-step plan to speed up the healing from a knee injury. Now, of course, there are many different injuries that can occur to a knee. Whether you've twisted it or sprained it or fallen on it, there are lots of different things that can go wrong. But today's video is going to give you an overall view of what you should be doing and not doing in the first few days to few weeks to few months after a significant knee injury. So we're going to break it down into 9 steps. We'll talk about each one in turn. And this is basically my best plan for people who have just injured their knee and they want the best way of getting better quickly. So the first thing you need to do, let's say it's day 1 or immediately after you've sprained it, twisted it, or fallen on it. You need to make sure it's not broken, okay? And obviously the gold standard to make sure it's not broken is to get an x-ray. But getting an x-ray is not going to be practical for everyone. Maybe you just twisted it slightly and you don't want to go to A&E, or it's not that bad, but you're a little bit worried about doing the right thing. The first thing to do is to press around the knee with your hands and just check there's no bony tenderness. One of the first signs of a fracture or a break is what we call pinpoint tenderness. So if you press on it, it's really, really sore, as in making you jump sore. Now, if you press on it and maybe it's a bit bruised, but it's not making you jump, chances are you've not broken it. Another way to tell whether or not you've broken it usually is if you can weight bear on it. So if you can't weight bear on it, that's a bad sign and you should probably go and get that x-ray done. Equally, if you have massive amounts of swelling, it's probably not a good thing, so you should go and get that checked out as well. If you've ticked all those boxes and it's not tender to touch or not especially tender, you can weight bear on it and it's not massively swollen, you can move on to the next step. So the second thing I would do if I just had a knee injury, I'm looking to heal as fast as possible, is to apply ice to the area for 72 hours. Now, ice is nature's natural anti-inflammatory. It takes away swelling, it takes away inflammation, and it also kills pain. It's going to limit the amount of time the body has to bleed around the area, so you won't have as much swelling, and having less swelling usually means less pain and less stiffness later down the line. So apply ice to the area. The best thing to do is to obviously protect the skin, then apply something cold directly to your knee for 15 minutes at a time. You can let that area heat back up naturally after you take the ice after you take the ice off the skin, and you can apply that again as many times as you need to throughout the day. Now, the third thing you're going to do during this 72-hour period after you've just injured your knee is you're going to take a combination of rest, compression, and elevation along with the ice. So the rest is just to allow the body to settle down and the healing process to begin. So if you have any sporting events or any long walks, you're going to need to cancel them and basically put your feet up for a couple of days. 72 hours for most injuries should be enough rest. Now, compression involves tying something tightly around your knee, possibly tying the ice tightly to it, and again, this helps with the swelling. And then elevation, so putting your foot up, that helps to drain away any swelling, and it can also help with the pain too. So I would have an ice pack on the knee with the leg up, resting on the sofa, and just giving it 72 hours to recover. Now, after this initial 72-hour period, the fourth thing you're going to need to do when the swelling has come down, is feeling a bit better and you feel like you can weight bear on it okay, is to start some very gentle range of motion exercises. Now, all this means is we're trying to combat some of the effects of the stiffness on the knee from where we've been resting it. So typically at this stage, people can move the knee, but it's quite stiff when they bend and it's quite stiff to extend it. So you might notice you have a reduced range of motion at the knee. What we need to do is, in a safe way, bring that range of motion back. Now we can do this by lying down on your back or sitting in the chair and slowly straightening and bending the knee. We're not doing this in a weight-bearing position at this stage. So we're not doing squats. We're not doing this when we're putting weight through the knee. We're doing this lying down or sitting, and we're just moving the knee in the air. So we're not weight-bearing through it at all. You'll notice if you do this quite a lot throughout the course of the day, the stiffness starts to reduce and you can start to get movement back in the knee. So after the first 72 hours, we take away some of that rest and we replace it with some active range of motion exercises. Now, the fifth thing we need to do at this stage, after you've been treating it with ice for 72 hours and you've moved away from that, is we need to change what we've been doing, what we've been applying to the knee. So instead of putting ice on it, if the swelling is not there anymore, we could change it and put heat on the knee. Now what heat does is it works in the opposite way to ice, so it improves blood flow to the knee. And it's especially good for speeding up healing from things like meniscus tears or ligament sprains. Now, if you notice that your knee is not swollen but it feels quite stiff after your injury, heat can help to loosen that up. So we would use heat in exactly the same way as we used ice before, 15 minutes at a time with a hot water bottle. Make sure to protect the skin. You can take it off, let the knee cool down to its natural temperature and reapply as many times as you need to. Now, after 7 days since your injury, what we now need to start doing is building in some weight bearing. So we're going to start putting some weight through the knee. And you might find that at this stage, when you start to walk around again, you've got a bit of a limp. Now, if you have a limp at this stage and it feels a little bit sore, but it's manageable, what you must try and do is correct that limp as much as you can. Now, the reason we want to correct the limp is so that it doesn't start to put pressure on other areas of the body, namely the hip or the ankle or even the knee on the other side. So try and walk with what we call a clear heel to toe pattern. So you put your heel down first, and as you weight bear on the leg, you roll onto the front of the foot and you push off through the toes. Focus on a heel to toe pattern, and that will correct many different types of limps. Now, if your pain is too much to not limp, then you can allow yourself to limp for a while, but just know that you'll have to come back at some point to correct the limp if you want to fully get better. Now, the next thing we need to do, once we've started weight bearing properly, we're loosening the knee with our range of motion exercises and we're using heat on it, is we need to start strengthening the knee back up. After a knee injury, weakness sets in super quickly. Within about 14 days, you will have lost noticeable muscle mass and muscle strength. It's really depressing. So you're going to need to start to build that up again as soon as possible. I usually start the strengthening process with people about 7 to 14 days after an injury like this. So you need to bring in some exercises that are going to strengthen your knee. These might have to be done in non-weight bearing positions, so lying on your back or sitting in a chair, and you should be guided by your therapist when choosing these exercises. The other things you might want to do as well is to work on your flexibility. After an injury, stiffness and tightness sets in as well. So we have to do some stretches and some exercises to combat that. So stretching muscles like the quads, the hamstrings and the calves become very important as well. Now, after we've done all of this, that is going to take us up to about the 4-week mark. And at the 4-week mark, what we need to start to do is to incorporate some balance work. So the 7th part of this rehab program is to incorporate some balance work. Now, depending on how fit and mobile and strong you are, you might be able to do some work like standing on one leg at this point. Or you might just have to stand with your feet together and practice standing with a close stance instead. Of course, the key here is to pick the level that you're just about comfortable with, so it's enough to challenge you but not enough to knock you off balance. Again, your therapist should guide you through this process to improve your balance again. But after an injury, you might be surprised at how poor your balance is. And that's because after a significant knee injury, the balance centers of the body get thrown out of whack, so they don't quite know what they're doing, and we have to retrain that. Many people miss this vital step, and that's why a lot of people recur in different injuries. They might sprain the same knee again and then wonder why they've done it. Well, the reason was they didn't retrain their balance. So don't skip this step of the process. The final thing we're going to do as part of this rehab process, the 9th thing we're going to do, once we've worked on your strength, your flexibility and your balance, is to start bringing back activities that are specific to the things you want to do. Let's say you're a cyclist. What you need to do at this point is start to work on your cycling. You need to work on cycling downhill, uphill, and making turns. Let's say you're a runner. You might need to start some running specific rehab. So some fast running, some slow running, working on hills, just to get things moving again. Let's say you're a sports person, a rugby player. You might have to work on passing, so spinning off your knee to pass the ball, or you might have to work on how it's going to look like to tackle again. All of these things are very specific to you as a person and what you're trying to get back to doing, which is why it's best to work with an individual, a professional, one-on-one, to get the best advice for you. Anyway, that's the process. I hope that's made sense. That should give you a general idea of what it looks like to go from first day of a knee injury right up until getting back to the things you love. I hope that's been helpful, and if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and like the video because it really helps me to reach more people. And if you like this content, you'll love my book, Thriving Beyond 50, and you can find that on Amazon using the link below this video. Thank you very much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I look forward to speaking to you on the next one.